Oh no, it's my tone hole. It won't stop leaking, and it's getting worse. Gross. That's why I reach for a Chib Grip. It soothes and protects. It also prevents tone leakage and unwanted mids. And it floats in water. Don't stuff your tone hole with just anything. Reach for a Chib Grip today.
Don't we have a box of Dutchess in the car?
No, man. I left them at the hotel.
Nah, I'ma just roll up with these ones. Nah, we'll go get 2 more though.
Eat it up, Mr. Left, top. Swish it.
Wu-Tang. Testicles. 1, 2. This thing on. Welcome. Meaningful Times with Friends is back. I believe this will be episode 41, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think so. We have Nathan Nation, Spoolie D, Dan Lactose in the house today. I mean Dave. You may notice somebody's missing. That's because he's missing. We don't know where he is. He's in our chat, but we can't find him. Shout out to Merely Jason. He is missing Jason today. We wish our best to him and his family and hope he is found safely somewhere. First off, any apologies? Sorry, dog. All right, here's our sorry doggy. We got Marty. We
can go real time.
Yeah, there we go. Real sorry. Yeah. So do we have any apologies? Everybody good?
My conscience is clean.
Are you allowed to apologize to yourself?
For what?
It's a simple question.
I don't think we've had any limitations on apologies.
Yesterday, Jason asked for a ruling. So in our chat, sometimes we have different people rule on different things. So like Jason being the art lord, we'll ask him for a ruling on a certain thing, Dave on comedy, Nathan on mass media, me on really nothing. Except for this, Jason asked, there was like some sort of tasteless Kobe joke. So I've stopped watching sports altogether. 2022 was it. So if you ask me anything about sports, 2022 back to like infinity, I can give you a pretty comprehensive encyclopedic answer. And then I stopped. So what I wanted to apologize to myself for wasting 30-something years paying attention to sports. And I'm not just talking like NBA and NFL. I'm talking like hockey. I'm talking women's tennis, like back in the 80s. Like, do you guys know who Mats Wilander is? Exactly, I do, and that's not good. Like, he was ranked number 3 behind Yvonne Lendl and Boris Becker back in the... my point is this. I'd like to give myself, Spoolie D, a heartfelt apology. I've learned so many things. I've learned how to fix things. I've learned how to build things. I've learned how to take care of chickens, all sorts of stuff taking the place of this completely useless encyclopedic knowledge of sports. So, again, to myself, I humbly apologize. Thanks, Dave.
It's good. It's even more important, as we say in recovery, is forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself, too. So it's a two-way street.
Question, did you ever watch bowling?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And World's Strongest Man. You ever watch World's Strongest Man?
No. I used to
That's
watch bowling
amazing.
with my grandfather in the 80s. He was big into that. But, man, it's been a while. So, just
Oh,
curious.
Yeah. No, I also have my own bowling ball.
I believe that.
I do,
Yeah,
too.
That's sad.
Sports junkie. That's what you were.
Not anymore. Cold turkey.
Were. I said were, but yeah.
Takes up a lot of time, man.
I just watch wrestling. I stopped watching AEW, which is like the rival promotion to WWE. It's not bad. It's a lot of time.
I went through a period in the early 2000s where I watched baseball for a couple of years, and it not only exacerbated my dislike of sports fans, but also made me angry at myself for getting like emotionally upset about the outcome of a game. It's the only time I've ever gone through that where I was like, I'm mad because the A's lost. All right, I need to stop. This is dumb. Yeah.
The most emotionally attached I was to sports was the Sharks 93-94 season, because that was their first foray into the playoffs. They were literally the Bad News Bears, major league group of ragtag underdogs, and they beat the number 1 ranked Detroit Red Wings. For San Jose, for our shitty little team, it was do you you believe in miracles 80 Olympics for us. And Detroit Red Wings were all in red. They might as well have been Russia. They were.
See, that's relatively healthy. Like, I'm sitting here in like 1996 with a bong, getting emotionally involved in the Avalanche versus the Red Wings, like Game 5 of the semifinals.
It was more just that you knew the sports talk radio. I had no idea who the fuck Jim Rome was.
Rack 'em. Yeah.
Does he do anything today? Where's Jim Rome today?
Yeah, he has a podcast.
He's still out there, yeah.
He has a podcast, of course. All right, we got all that out of the way. That was a long apology that wasn't an apology, but all right. It goes into our first topic. This is kind of like an all spoolie topics episode, really. But our first topic revolves around apologies. And not just any apologies. We're talking well-known, celebrity. I don't even know how it really came up. You got to talking about apologies, Spoolie, in the chat.
I guess the thesis of it is public apologies are always disingenuous, and they always manifest themselves in the most preposterous manner. Nobody says, I'm sorry, and the world goes, all right, cool. Like, we're good. It never goes down that way. It's either somebody apologizes like in this fake heartfelt, like, I'm sorry for who I hurt. I know words have power, and I'm deeply regretful and sorry for what I did. I vow to change, etc. And everyone's like, not good enough. Fuck you. Right? Or there's some sort of like ham-handed, mealy-mouthed, like doubling back. I apologize if you feel offended by my words. They were taken out of context, right? They only go those two ways. And so there's a whole history of public apologies, and none of them are ever like, I'm sorry. Public goes, we believe you. High five, we're good. Let's move on. That's why.
Word. So our topic is famous apologies. And because there's so many. When I just looked up like celebrity apologies, there's so many I forgot about. Fucking Will Smith slapping Chris Rock and his whack ass apology for that shit. And he still got his Oscar award. I was like, fuck out of here. So we each picked an apology to each kind of focus on. So let's kick off with our, not a guest, you're one of our friends, man. You've been on this goddamn show a couple times. So Dan Lactose, what was yours?
So I picked Roseanne Barr.
I was hoping you were going to stick with that.
That tweet that she sent about Valerie Jarrett, who was like senior advisor to Obama. And dude, her apology was just like completely insane.
She just tweeted? She didn't even like really make a real apology?
No, so my understanding, should I read the tweet?
Please.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so,
when was this, by the way? Okay.
2018. Let's see.
Wow, it's that long ago. I thought it was after the pandemic. Shit.
No, it was pre-pandemic. She made like a joke in a tweet. I'm not sure what the like original topic that they were.
There was a meme where she had.
It's fully to know.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, it was huge.
I am a comedy nerd. She's a freaking comedy legend.
He went from sports to apologies.
Yeah. So there was a side-by-side of whoever the main Planet of the Apes dude is.
What, Charlton Heston?
No, the general, the ape.
Roddy McDowell, was it? I forget who.
The actual, the character's name.
I
there was like
I never watched
Dr. Zaius? I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, look
Yeah,
at this
something like
motherfucker
that.
knows. Yeah. That was where we needed merely Jason for, because he would fucking know that Star Trek shit.
Yes.
That's all it is. It's just Star Trek to me. Planet of the Apes is like an episode of Star Trek.
Starring Gary Gnu. Go ahead.
So what she wrote was, in response on Twitter, was Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby equals VJ, which is Valerie Jarrett. But her apology is insane, man. I guess she was going on Entertainment Tonight to do an apology. If you watch the video on YouTube, it's like a minute long. And the most insane thing is she posted this video to her own YouTube channel. So when you look it up, it's her channel. And she's just screaming, I thought the bitch was white. That was her apology. Dude, it's crazy. The fallout from that, she ended up losing her show. Channels were pulling it from reruns. Pretty wild, man.
It was the return of her show, too. They changed it from Roseanne to the Connors.
After they fired her, yeah. But it was number one.
I'm actually surprised that Trump didn't issue an executive order to return her back to the show.
Yeah, mandatory 5 more seasons.
I remember I getting in an argument with somebody because all I said was like, she has a history of being crazy. Bitch crazy. So I wasn't like automatically assuming racism, as terrible as it sounded. I actually took her word for it because she's also issued an apology. She has multiples, man.
Yeah, she's got a lot, man.
And when you look back on it, it's pretty bold considering the nationalism that exists today. When she did her half-assed Star Spangled Banner performance at a ball game and was just doing it like a shitty male ball player, and then grabbed her crotch and spit, and everybody was like, "Oh, disrespectful." I'm like, she's actually paying homage to baseball. I really don't think it's like so disrespectful to the anthem. I'm like, you got Roseanne Barr to do it. She's a fucking comedian, Jesus. But yeah, she's since kind of gone off on weird tangents.
I was saying in the chat, if you want to see her kind of at her best when she's in control of a situation, and I'll never recommend people watch this show, but Bill Maher has this podcast called Club Random, where he sits there and drinks and gets high and talks to people.
He's more like talking at them than with them.
That's the thing, is the one with her is really good, and I'd watch it rather than listen to it, because she basically just fucks with him the entire time and doesn't realize it because he's so smug. He doesn't realize that she's smarter than him. If you watch it through that lens, it's hilarious because she's like a cat playing with a ball of yarn. It's really a masterclass on how to deal with someone like Bill Maher.
Her whole act from when she started was dealing with terrible men.
Exactly.
Kind of in her wheelhouse. It just sucks. I hate it when people that have like kind of a unique brand of intelligence then get caught up in political rhetoric. Dennis Miller had the same thing happen after 9/11. We didn't get no apology from that asshole.
I gotta add on to her apology though, because she did claim that she sent the tweet under the effects of Ambien.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then this thing that on the Wikipedia page, I guess there was a statement from the company that produces Ambien saying, that racist tweets are not a side effect of taking the medication.
That's awesome.
What she wrote, which like isn't even really funny,
It's trash talk. She almost be like a sporting event.
Exactly.
Like what was terrible too is there would be some people like, well, here's a picture of Valerie Jarrett, and I'm like, God damn it, man! I'm like, do we really? She's not an ape, all right? Does she resemble any of the people with the makeup on it or whatever? I'm not even going to comment on that.
Wise move.
Apparently, John Goodman, stood by her saying she is not racist.
Good TV husband, right there. All right, that is.
He doesn't want to cut off any potential opportunities. Why burn those bridges?
He's worked with her for a long time when she was at her worst, man. He had to deal with Tom Arnold. Anything past Tom Arnold, he's good.
Well, it does suck though, because she made basically all those people's careers with her show, and they all basically turned their back on her.
Before even that happened, female comics were already shitting on her about other shit. Look, you can think what you want. This is a woman who early on in a male-dominated field, and not in the name of some political fucking horseshit or whatever, she became a star comedian doing stand-up on the basis of it that was sticking up for the voiceless of women in the household at a time when no one did that. And there was like a couple other people, Joan Rivers, Phyllis Diller or whatever, but she had a lot of this Americana, being overweight in people's eyes, even though some people think she's perfect. I thought she was cute. I mean, we're not getting into all that, but anyway.
Well, I will say though, Dave, down that line, so I completely agree. That's what I'm saying. She's a freaking legend, so of course I pay attention to her career. Like, there's nobody like her. She blazed trails, whatever. Speaking of Phyllis Diller and Joan Rivers, shout out to Roseanne's like plastic surgery team. Mm-hmm. Like, they nailed it. It's like done really, really, really well, which you can usually not say about plastic surgery, and it's held up for like decades. Or the touch-ups, whatever they're doing, like, they deserve a round of applause.
You know what I think helps? Racism. I think it helps.
It's good for the skin. Yeah.
I thought the bitch was white I don't know if we're going to get any better than that. That's like fucking legendary.
The bitch.
Apologies. Yeah.
The bitch was white. Fair enough. Shit. All right. Well, thank you, Dan. So let's go next with Nathan Nation.
All right. So some background. I've always been a morning person my entire life. Like, I always get up like even when I was a kid, I was out of bed at 6 a.m. And so I would always get up, first person in the house, and go watch TV. And this would be before Saturday morning cartoons would be on. And the shit that was on TV at that time of the morning was always fucking Jimmy Swaggart Ministry. And I would call them and troll them because they would always have like, call our prayer line and we'll say a prayer for you. And it was basically trying to get donations to the Jimmy Swaggart Ministry. So I'd troll them and I'd call them and be like, my dad is dying and shit like that. We'd started getting all this shit in the mail because I gave them our address, and my parents were like, why are we getting all this fucking Jimmy Swaggart Ministry, like little cross pendants and shit? All that to say that I wasn't raised with religion. So even as a kid, I was like, this shit is just weird to me. So when he got into trouble, it was 1988. For, I guess it was like a sex worker scandal. He was hooking up with prostitutes, and some rival of his that he had worked hard to take down sent people to watch him, and they found out that he was hooking up with prostitutes. And so he does this epic, like in that picture behind Dave, of just like crying, and it was like so ubiquitous in culture at this time. I must have been 13 years old, and like I wasn't following tabloids at that time, but I think everyone was aware of it. Just his whole "I have sinned," like it was just so dramatic and over the top. And I mean, even to the point where they made fun of it on In Living Color. Like if you remember, there was a sketch where it was like Jim Carrey and one of the other guys were like as preachers, and in the middle of it, Jim Carrey started crying and everything. It was just all over the place, and I've always just thought it was awesome. And I think Swaggart, a couple years after that, like 91, I was just looking this up, got in trouble again for another sex worker scandal. And it was at that point that I guess he got defrocked or something. Like they kicked him out of his ministry. So he went like independent and did something else. To wrap it up, I guess the guy just died last year. I was unaware that he had lived that long, but he lived to be 90 years old. Yeah. Somehow. So it must have been all the sex or something. I don't know.
Most evil people live long lives, man. I swear.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Who was his rivalry with? Do you remember?
It was some other preacher. He had worked to take this guy down through public accusations, similar to what he was actually doing. So they got revenge by basically like private eyeing his ass and finding out what he was up to.
This dude fucking.
Too bad there aren't like evangelical diss tracks.
Got to be diss sermons.
Is there like an equivalent to this, like to that level of?
It's real. It's in the mega churches. They don't need it. They probably don't want it televised because everything's so insular in those communities.
They still have this stuff. They still have the televangelists. They still ask for money.
What about who's that guy? Joel
Osteen.
Yeah, that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's probably the biggest one. There's a couple of like lower level ones, but Osteen's like the most famous. But yeah, they still have the 700 Club on.
Wow, that's wild.
Where I live, there's radio stations and stuff that just play religious stuff all the time. I've had the same Uber driver twice going to the airport who listens to evangelical hip hop, which is wild and very, very, very long and repetitive.
But they probably all took it online too. Like a lot of it's probably on YouTube, I would imagine, or it's in different places now.
One of the things that went viral a few years ago is that guy. He's that Latin dude. I think he's from out here in Stockton, but he's the guy that Jesus Christ. I don't know if you ever seen him. He's this short Mexican dude. You can find him very viral on the social medias, but he's this short, tattooed, most likely did some time. He's got like an air of a norteño because he's even got like face tattoos or whatever. But there's a viral clip of him at a church where he starts doing these moves like almost like the robot, but they're his own moves, his own weird pop locking mixed with breakdancing. And he keeps going, I love you, Jesus Christ! And he's like talking about how he has a sword and fights down evil. It's the most ridiculous shit, but that's like modern day TikTok evangelism.
When you heard this, I think we all remember this event. Did you think like, oh, I bet he's really sorry?
I wonder what I thought of as this at 13, to be honest with you, because I feel like I processed things so differently at that time that what was in the news just washed right over me. Like I wasn't paying attention. So I think I probably reacted to my dad, if anything, being like, oh, this guy's full of shit. Like that was probably the take I took because my dad was that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just trying to like tie it back to the central theme, right? Like this is obviously way over the top. Genuine, would be in the category of like trying to actually apologize, right? Like he's just groveling for apology. But like nobody bought it.
People bought it. His flock bought it. The very people that this pandering horseshit works on.
What's wild is when you watch the video of this, at first I thought people in the audience were laughing, but no, people in the audience are actually crying.
Yeah.
And when they pan out to the audience, people are like sad. I don't know. It's just wild to me that people are in these cults, essentially, right? Like following this guy as like this figurehead of this movement. Like it's just, I don't know how you could possibly think this guy's being genuine. Like it just comes off as so smarmy and weird.
They don't blame the man. They blame Satan, that Satan was acting through these women, and seducing him.
Did he say that, Nathan? Did he blame Satan?
I watched an abridged version. It was basically like news coverage where they covered a brief portion of it. I didn't watch the whole. I couldn't stomach the whole thing. No way.
Accountability is nowhere near any of these people.
Yeah. I'll have to throw an asterisk on the thesis. Like, if you're a leader of a cult, then they will believe you.
I forget, was Jessica Hahn the one that worked with Sam Kinison? She was made famous from hooking up with one. I don't know if it was Jimmy Swaggart.
Was she a Playboy lady?
Well, she was a model. I don't even think she was really famous until this incident. Jim Baker. It was Baker.
Oh, all these dudes were fucking, man.
Dude, she was thick before thick was a thing, man. I liked her. So, all right, Jimmy Swaggart, fuck you, dude. If you're gonna fuck prostitutes, just work it into your fucking curriculum. All right, I'll get into mine here. Mine is kind of a combination. Basically, they're both for saying the N-word, and they're both comedians, and that is Joe Rogan and I'm forgetting his name, Kramer.
Michael Richards.
Michael Richards.
I feel like everyone just calls him Kramer.
I do know his name. I just totally blanked on it. They're just getting older, man. We're getting up there in years.
It's like Jim Neighbors. Nobody calls him Jim Neighbors.
Yeah, nobody does. Okay,
just Gomer.
I watched both apologies. Let's start with our boy Rogan. They both have something in common besides dropping N-bombs. And they're both multiple N-bombs. It's just that Joe sprinkled them out over time on his podcast. If you ever watched any of his podcasts throughout the years, which his podcast has gone from being just hanging out with his comedy store buddies, smoking weed, doing drugs, whatever, then became, I just like having conversations with people I'm interested in. He has a real knack for taking very interesting people and making them dull as fuck, talking about barbecue and breaking down the fundamentals of how to write a joke. And it's the same circular fucking podcast every time. The funny thing about his podcast was the apology happened in 2022. So he signed his Spotify deal. It was before the pandemic, I believe, or right around the time. Got, $100 million and all that shit. It's got a lot more attention, and as always with the internet, especially during the pandemic, people love combing the internet to try and find any dirt they can either twist or whatever. And in his case, throughout the years, did what I think a number of people did, especially in a Tarantino world or whatever. He would repeat things, jokes that were said. Rather than say an N-bomb, he's like, we know the word. He just said the word and wasn't necessarily used in a racist context. It was repeating what other people said. But the thing is, he doesn't have the capacity to know everything they did. And there are instances where he did use it as a comedian in a green room, derogatorily, just playing with bad language. It's one of those things where I'm like, I've witnessed it. Do I say I've ever done it or whatever? I've said words or whatever in appropriately inappropriate manners for funsies. In his case, he's on a podcast that then has episodes out there or whatever. So when they made a compilation of all of them, he saw it and he basically got to see a window into just his behavior. The irony being that the Joe Rogan of today would never have done this in not so long ago. It was 2022. So Spotify deal's in place. They went back and washed all of the Spotify episodes with his use of the N-word. And he ends up making this apology, and it's like a good 4 minutes or whatever. And I believe he's being sincere, even though as much as he likes to think he stands his ground, the man's a fucking jellyfish. It's one of the great things about MMA. You get to work your way around and try to figure all these fucking nooks and crannies of battling. That's so fun. It's what they call the mental gymnastics all around this shit. Kramer responded to it more viscerally, you can tell it bothered him. With Rogan, it was damage control. He on my podcast expressed a genuine apology to anybody that may have been offended by seeing all of this and all that. But the thing that they both have in common is they both say the key words that sticks with the theme of disingenuous apologies, and that is, I am not a racist. Now, one thing I've learned in myself is that I'm not a practicing racist. I don't look for reasons to express racism. However, I do accept the fact that in some unconscious core of my being, and just being an American and living in a culture with mixed ethnicities, shit's embedded in me that is no doubt racist. That's part of just the culture that I've grown up in or whatever. And I accept that in myself in case it comes out in some way, shape, or form that I don't know about, that I'm unaware of. And I'm not saying that makes me a better person. It's not. No. It just makes me a person. The fact is, I think they would have been better apologies if they just said, hey, I didn't know I was racist. That's really what you're finding out.
I'm just as surprised as you guys are.
I feel like Kramer in this instance has more to lose because his career was already on the decline by the time he dropped it. He's doing stand-up at the Comedy Store or wherever that was. Compared to being on the biggest TV show in the world. Whereas Rogan, I feel like that's not going to affect him. I feel like, if anything, his fans will be like, what a pussy for apologizing.
You're getting into Alex Winter territory. Man's got FU money.
It got personal real quick.
Oh, I'm sure he does, but I'm just saying that he's not at the top of the showbiz world by the time this happened.
He was never even that top of the showbiz type of guy. Even with Kramer, he became a phenomenon of a character on this show, but he was always known for his weird roles in other stuff. He was in, UHF, he's in Airheads, he's in, a variety of movies playing these very Kramer-esque characters and stuff. But I think if anything, it did affect his ability to keep doing that type of work after this incident. Dave Chappelle sums it up best.
Perfect.
When he says, the black man in me was like, man, that was all racist. But the comedian in me is like, man, he's having a bad set. And the other thing is, too, his apology, I would say next to Roseanne's, is the funniest because he's trying to be sincere. Seinfeld brings him on the David Letterman show to make this apology. David Letterman, Seinfeld, but mainly Letterman, they are known for their dry delivery humor. So when Michael Richards is on there trying to be earnest and sincere in his apology, the audience starts laughing because the tone of it is just so fucking ridiculous. And you don't know what's funny? This was in the late 2000s. So my hunch is not everybody saw what happened, because this was the internet kind of starting to become a lot more of mainstream culture. They might have seen an article, they might have heard about it, but not everybody saw it. So it's one of those cases where I would see it a lot in comedy, where people would respond to things like at open mics or at a show. They would start talking about something thinking that everybody's aware of it just because it was on social media, but not everybody was on social media at all times the way that comedians are. I think this was one of those cases where people couldn't tell if it was a bit or not. And then when they realize it's not a bit, he then goes into how he feels genuinely shocked that he had this in him, says the key words, I am not a racist. But then he tries to tie it into Hurricane Katrina. He's deflecting by bringing it into this other context that it's like, again, not really fully absorbing his own accountability. I think Roseanne is more comfortable accepting the fact that she may have these corners of internalized racism that she's unaware of just in her response. And it's just like, yeah, fuck it, I am who I am. As opposed to somebody who, whether for their career or whether for their own personal interest, is like genuinely freaked out at the fact that, yeah, they could get pissed off by a heckler, and in a cheap manner of just trying to save face, because that's all he was doing. He's trying to use the hard R N-bomb to try and get back and hurt this person and hurt anybody else in the audience who was also kind of aligned with the heckler's point of view. You know, having a bad set, when you show your ass. It's a poker face you need to have with the audience if something is getting to you. And if somebody's going to be aggressively trying to fuck with you, that gives you more opportunity to try and, get back at them. And audiences like to go with that. Richards, I don't know what he was thinking, even in the late 2000s, thinking he was going to be shocking or whatever. And he's also not really known for stand-up. He's an improv performer doing sketches and shit, so stand-up was not his strong suit. You know what should have happened? Rogan should have had Michael Richards on his podcast, and they could talk about, fucking N-bombs. And they both were like, we're not racist, I don't get it. That's to accept.
How old is Kramer now, first of all?
He might be 70 now.
He's 76, okay.
My phone just called me the N-word. Oh, my God.
If you guys remember back to elementary school, and that word was thrown around.
Yeah, you'd hear it.
You know what I mean? Like in 5th, 6th grade. And so we're talking like mid 80s, late 80s, early 90s. It was still kind of there. You know what I mean? So it
wasn't prominent, but I made a joke one time. People were doing like, I'm this years old, and it would be like something from their time. And I said, I'm hearing my friend's parents drop hard R N-bombs years old.
Wow.
Yeah. Those are two fundamentally different situations. Not that either one's good, and I'll get into that on my segment. One is Rogan too comfortable using the word, right?
He was.
That's the issue, right? That's the issue in all of these. You're too comfortable for that word to come out. He's too comfortable thinking it's okay for him to use it in quotations. He's not using it in anger. He's not using it at somebody. Again, not good, not okay. It's indicative, to your point, of something underneath. So we're in agreement on that. This was, I don't know, an attempt to be funny or an attempt in anger.
It's an attempt to hurt. I mean,
and it's just stupid. So I'll say this. There is no other word in the English language with a lower return on investment than the N-word.
Way to put it in capitalist terms there.
I know we have a huge Wall Street.
Seemed to work in the South back in the day.
But seriously, it's like, challenge anyone to come up with another word. It's really never funny.
Yeah.
It's not really hurtful. It can piss someone off. It can get you fired. It can get you canceled. It clearly ruins many a career. And so, why even have it in your vocabulary?
Though, if you remember non-black comics in the 2000s into the 2010s, I can name 3 right now: Doug Stanhope, Louis C.K., and even Dave Foley. It's in his special where they all would do jokes around it's just a word and do these mental gymnastic jokes, and they were not canceled. They were deemed funny or whatever, but that was to their audience. And there may be some black folks in that audience, but the majority of them are non-black. And so the consequences never came in terms of these jokes.
I've never seen or heard Rogan's apology. Does it come off as genuine?
For Rogan, it actually does. One of the weirdest things, too, in Michael Richards' apology is he keeps referring to them as blacks.
Blacks.
Nice. I could think of one time where it was the perfect word for a joke, and that was in Blazing Saddles, where he stuck the gun to his head and said nobody move. I would say that's the only time in history where that was like, it was the perfect word for the perfect joke. Then we can all quit now.
Again, it's become a word that I think it's not the word, it's the times. But I'm not saying, oh, it's okay to say it. I'm saying our times have only grown more tense, and at a tense point in time, it's dynamite. You're playing with something explosive there.
Dynamite even has its utility to, like, get through mountains to build railroads and infrastructure.
Maybe we're trying to get through some DEI mountains, You're trying to destroy what people have built to try and help our culture. Anyway, all right, that's fine. Let's move on to the guy who started all this apology nonsense, and that is Spoolie D. What do you got, buddy?
More N-word action.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just going to say it a bunch for the next 15 minutes, so settle in, guys. Let me start with this. This is the one thing I did write down. Nobody says the N-word who doesn't say the N-word, right? So I don't care what you say as part of your apology or whatever. Like, if it came out, it just, like, doesn't just form naturally, like, at age 50, right? So it's been said before, and the reason why I never actually say it is because I make very damn sure I never say it. I'm not saying I'm any better or any less or more racist than Dave. I'm just saying it's just really, really risk versus reward, not a good plan. This is about Papa John. I guess I can't remember his name now, Schnott or something like that, Schnat. He kind of slow rolled into this. He got in trouble. If you remember the whole Kaepernick phenomenon, Colin Kaepernick, who's a quarterback for the 49ers, he started kneeling for the national anthem. I'm not sure what prompted him to do this. I think it was police violence against black people. And whatever, it's the national anthem. Nathan and I got yelled at for not standing at the national anthem before together. We weren't making a political statement. We were just, not standing. Well, that's what she called us, actually.
That is what she called us. Yeah, stand up, you lazy boys.
I knew it.
It was a sick burn. I felt bad.
We stood up.
Yeah, we did. We should have started holding hands, though. So it started with this, and so he starts criticizing the NFL. This tool says, our pizza sales are down because of the NFL's inability to deal with this whole national anthem thing. I don't know how you square that circle, but that was his excuse for pizza sales being 5%. What he's trying to say is like, by enabling this, you're alienating half of your fan base, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, he's not the first person to do this. In fact, again, this goes back to my encyclopedic knowledge of sports going back forever. But there was a guy, Chris Jackson, out of LSU, who was drafted by the Denver Nuggets, and he changed to Islam, and he changed his name to Mahmoud Abdur-Rauf. One of the fun things about Mahmoud Abdur-Rauf is he had Tourette syndrome. And so while he's dribbling the ball up the floor, he's like, fuck. But also, he was the first professional athlete. He would turn his back on the flag during the national anthem during a Denver Nuggets game. So this isn't by any stretch of imagination a new thing. But media being the way it was, to Dave's point, things went viral a lot faster, and it became a big thing. And people are like, dude, that's kind of like lame comparing pizza sales to violence against minorities. So anyways, that was 2017. 2018. There's sensitivity training going on at Papa John's, and they are working out a scenario. And he says, as part of the scenario, he uses the whole word and says, Colonel Sanders was able to say the N-word without consequences, so I don't understand. And a lot of people on the conference call, I don't know why he decided to say the entire word. And I don't know why he had to drag Colonel Sanders' good name through this. And it was funny reading the article. It was kind of like the same way that Trump, whenever he talked about the stolen 2020 election, and Trump claimed, without evidence, that the election was stolen. This said, Papa John, without evidence, claimed that Colonel Sanders used it. I thought that was very strange. So anyways, he issued a series of apologies. And the apology was more of the kind of half-assed apologizing, but he kind of hedged it with saying, regardless of context. Which, again, that goes back to he's comfortable with the word. That tells you something. If you're comfortable saying that word as a white person, that's really enough evidence to whatever they're suspecting him. They fire him. And then he goes on this whole thing about how it was a conspiracy from the board of directors to oust him. And I mean, sure, but I doubt they set up this entire sensitivity training to bait him into throwing shade at Colonel Sanders and dropping an N-bomb. I believe in all the conspiracies, not one I just can't get into. Anyways, to conclude, he goes on OAN, One America News Network. OAN is to the right of Newsmax, which is to the right of Fox. And so if you actually watch the clip I sent you, the person asks him the question, they've ruined your good name. And he starts going into this, and he's like, yeah, we've spent the last 2 years rehabbing this word out of my vocabulary.
He's got N-word addiction.
Yes, exactly. You should hit him up, Dave.
Ninja Anonymous, man.
It's a different NA for sure.
Yeah, I relapsed the other day. I relapsed last week. Fucking shit.
This whole time you guys are talking about both of these situations, like, or all three of them, I'm just thinking about that scene in Office Space where dude's driving to work listening to the Ghetto Boys. Rolling up the window when he sees the guy coming over. That's really, like, in a nutshell, how I think a lot of white folks deal with it. You know what I mean? I listen to a lot of hip hop, man, and I have a lot of these raps memorized in my head, but I don't say them out loud.
Nate does in his car.
I've admitted to that, yes.
Nate is an honorary ninja when he's in his car.
I just want to add that Harlan Sanders, the colonel, was born in 1890, so he for sure said the N-word.
He said it.
100%, yeah.
Nathan Nation says without evidence.
Without evidence, I'm claiming the colonel.
Shame on you, Papa John, like with your third-rate pizza brand, comparing yourself to like the OG of mass-produced, low-quality fried chicken.
I don't think I've ever had Papa John's pizza. Do we have it in the Bay Area? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's the third largest chain behind Domino's and Pizza Hut.
I go Domino's, man. They ain't dropping N-bombs. They just... It's Domino, motherfucker.
Domino, motherfucker. What was that from?
Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's Ice Cube. Domino, motherfucker. What you think about that?
So 3 of these apologies involve some element of racism. So I think the key is fuck more sex workers, man. Let's get more into the sex work apologies. Whatever happened to that in America? But yeah, there's lots of apologies out there, man. So let's move on. Our next topic is one of Spoolie's favorite subjects, and that is James motherfucking Bond, everybody. Somebody who I don't know if we have it on record who hasn't said the N-word. Maybe Spoolie can tell us different.
Yeah, I'm not sure why we're covering this topic other than it's a piece of Americana, right? It's like an iconic thing we've done.
Out of Britain.
And where did Americana come from, David? Britain.
Well, it's not the same. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll show you the Revolutionary War and the Trail of Tears as evidence to my point.
Yeah, the South really identifies with fucking 007.
That's right. The whole premise of this is kind of preposterous, right? It's basically this guy who is amazing at everything. So that's like kind of at the core of it. As it goes on and on and on, it gets more and more preposterous, probably peaking at Roger Moore, the ridiculousness. But I think the idea is like Bourne or kind of like any of these hero movies, like the mortal hero, not the superhero. You have someone who is the invincible super spy, and he does it through being able to outfight, outshoot, outfly, outsmart, outgamble, outbaccarat. Anything that you challenge him on, he will do. Outfuck. If you notice, one of the other tropes is, especially in the Sean Connery, like he's slapping women and like doing some really nasty shit. And then they're just like, oh, James. With Sean Connery, it's more just straight up misogynism. Pierce Brosnan, for whatever reason, he's a biter. If you watch the lovemaking scenes in all the Pierce Brosnan's one, he's like kind of gnawing on the women, which I thought was really, really odd.
Marv
and then
Albert.
I think it gets yes. And then it gets into the Daniel Craig era, which I think is kind of more contemporary. It'll be interesting to see how that ages, because it was more kind of like morphing in with like the Bourne sensibility with this like very serious, like dark character. I thought it was excellent, actually. I thought the Daniel Craig shit was on point. I thought the Sean Connery stuff was of the time, 60s. I like the way he says pushy. He had that going for him. Roger Moore probably was my favorite growing up because it was funny. He had kind of a tongue-in-cheek, winking at the audience way of going about it, but when shit got like serious, he got dark. Timothy Dalton was just god-awful. George Lazenby, the one he did, it's actually one of the better Bond movies. If you watch On Her Majesty's Secret Service, he does a phenomenal job. Very interesting plot line on that one. Pierce Brosnan, if you look at it, it's just more like normal 90s, like blockbuster shit. I thought it was perfectly fine, entertaining, like Bad Boys type stuff. It hit all the notes. It wasn't phenomenal. He looks the part. Obviously, he was born to play that part. I'm glad he did. Daniel Craig was more, I think it tied everything together and did a really great job with it. It'll be interesting to see what they do. During the Roger Moore era, They tried to get into these really popular tropes. Live and Let Die. It's the one in the bayou. It's some weird voodoo thing, but there's also this weird subplot with this fake Smokey and the Bandit sheriff that's constantly trying to chase him, and they're just like basically ripping off that plot. And there's also like a pitfall scene, like completely unnecessary scene where he jumps in alligators' heads to escape. Then there's like the actual like peak of like silly, ridiculous James Bond, and it kind of went away from that. But the actual peak was Moonraker, because that tried to take advantage of the whole Star Wars craze, and they were doing like laser fighting in outer space. And if you actually think about the plot to Moonraker, it's the same plot as the Vandal song Master Race in Outer Space. The guy basically wants to take all of the master race, the perfect people, put them in outer space and destroy the Earth so he could repopulate it with the blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. One of the hallmarks of this is the plots are also like so over-the-top dastardly. There's another one, I don't remember if it's Octopussy or The Spy Who Loved Me, where he wanted to kind of do the same thing but build this master race underwater. And then there's A View to a Kill, the one that was in San Francisco. And Christopher Walken decided that he was going to use the San Andreas Fault. He was going to invest in the San Joaquin Valley, like Fresno and shit, on the Inland Valley. And then he was going to destroy the entire coastline, so then he would own the entire coastline of California.
Wasn't that Lex Luthor's plan too? I
think it was, yeah. I do like the fact that it's very black and white, so to speak.
It ain't all black and white. I got it in color too, motherfucker. Look at that.
There you go. Hey-o. Professional comedy right there. He's like this flawless person who's good at everything. And then you have the villain who is just uncompromisingly evil and completely devoted to being evil, like in every possible way. That's my take on it. I own every single one of these. I've watched all of them at least twice, if not multiple times. It's probably some sort of weird spectrum-y thing with me and James Bond. But
it is.
I'm a big fan.
That's exactly what I told Dan when I was mentioning our topics. The reason why it even came up, we circle back to James Bond quite a bit in our chat, for whatever reason. And you are not interested in much. Like you said, you had an obsessive thing with sports. I know we have commonalities with Twilight Zone and some other things here and there. Professional wrestling. But you don't watch...
Eating ass.
Yeah, maybe, I guess. We don't talk about it all that much. But we circle back to James Bond, and I know that you... and you alone have been like a James Bond head, and you were the one that would always be like, oh, Dave, you really got to check out the George Lazenby one. It's not as bad as...
It's really good.
Exactly. Again, I grew up with Roger Moore. It was tongue-in-cheek. He was funny. I haven't really watched many of the Connery Bonds, but Nathan Nation, your thoughts on Bond?
So in our chat, I'm sure I chimed in and said I don't like James Bond movies. But what's interesting is when we talk about this stuff, it sort of forces me to look inward and be like, okay, why don't I like this shit on like a gut level? And I think a lot of it boils down to exposure. Like, I'll use Star Trek as an example. My dad was a dork for any and all science fiction. So when I was a kid, we would watch, the first series of Star Trek all the time. And a lot of my enjoyment of it to this day is just because I'm nostalgic for those times I spent with my dad. If I came to Star Trek on my own and hadn't been exposed to it by my dad, I would have been like, this is the corniest bullshit there is. I didn't have a family member who was like, let's sit down and watch some James Bond movies, or I just never got to it. By the time I was an adult, when I was like, I'll try out some of these Bond movies, I don't know if I didn't watch the right movies or if it just wasn't my brand of corny, but just like the sameness of all those movies where all the characters are recycled, there's going to be a money penny and a guy who, I don't know, the guy who gives him all his gadgets, and he uses... Q, and he uses all the same catchphrases with the fucking shaken not stirred, and he's always going to be in a casino. He's going to fuck somebody with a sexually suggestive fucking name, right? Like, I love the movies that we grew up with in the 80s, but by the time they got to like Indiana Jones and fucking Dial of Destiny, I'm out. I'm not watching that shit anymore. And that's kind of how I feel about these Bond movies, is that they started at a time that predates me, and by the time I got to them, I just feel like the premise had gotten old. And so, like I said, I like corny. They're just not my brand of corny.
That's rare too, because you love some Batman and Robin.
I grew up on Mad Magazine, so fucking corny was my brand for sure. Mel Brooks, give me a Mel Brooks movie any day. But this, for whatever reason, I just never been able to get into it.
Do you hate Mike Myers, or you just hate Austin Powers?
I just felt that Austin Powers humor hasn't aged well. That was mostly my take on it. I liked it back when the Austin Powers movies came out. And what's kind of funny is I don't think I fully recognized a lot of the Bond jokes.
You wouldn't.
Like, I think having not watched a lot of those movies, I was like, a lot of vagina. That's funny because it sounds sexually. Oh, but when I finally got around to watching the movies, okay, Octopussy, all these fucking names like that. I get it now.
It's a take on Pussy Galore, which was from Dr. No.
But one of a lot of pussy just sounds funny on its own.
A lot of vagina.
No, my favorite one of them, though, was Odd Job. So Odd Job was like the Asian dude with the hat.
Yeah.
And he threw it, and he had a guy named Random Task.
Random Task, yeah. It's rich with Bond humor there,
Yeah.
Nate.
I'm just tying this together from a previous episode where Nathan hates Austin Powers.
I wouldn't say I hate James Bond. That's a little too strong. I can see some of the Roger Moore movies having some kitschy entertainment value, but it's just not for me.
Lactose, what do you got?
I was introduced to the Bond movies in the early 80s. My best friend in elementary school had older brother, older sister. They had a laser disc, I think, and then they also had VHS. So they had movies at home early, right? Like first people I knew, and they really liked the Bond films. So I watched a lot of those at their house. Didn't really resonate with me. I liked all the gadgetry, and I remember the Lotus car that could go underwater, and I thought that was pretty cool. But I never really followed it outside of just seeing it at their house. So I've never seen a Pierce Brosnan James Bond film. I've seen Sean Connery and Roger Moore. But I do read currently, and for the last couple decades, I read a lot of crime fiction, and I read a lot of older stuff. So, I'm always going through the mystery section at stores, and, these are based on books by Ian Fleming, which I've never read any of them. I feel like I should, because my interest in crime fiction is so strong that I should at least read one, to see what all the hype's about. One thing I've learned throughout my reading of crime fiction is I don't like the perfect, shiny protagonist like James Bond. Mm-hmm. I like the disheveled alcoholic detective who kind of accidentally solves the crime, dealing with his own being a fuck up sort of thing. I find those stories much more endearing than the super detective kind of thing. I mean, even though, he's a spy, but similar kind of thing.
Do you like Columbo?
I do like Columbo.
I like Columbo markedly better than James Bond. As much as I like James Bond, Columbo's one of my favorite shows. Might be my favorite.
Have a collection of Columbo, though.
You like Monk?
I've never seen Monk.
Really?
Yeah, but I've seen every episode of Columbo multiple times. They're just so well done, and also from a cinematic shooting, they're beautifully done. He just mind fucks people water torture until he gets there. It's brilliant. The guest stars, the guest villains are brilliant in that show.
Just watching one the other day that had Vincent Price on it.
Nice. He never was Bond. Interesting. Could have. As far as my thing with Bond, I like Roger Moore. I actually like Roger Moore in the Cannonball Run movies because he was doing a spoof of James Bond, and apparently they didn't know he was doing that and kind of got a little upset at the time. Roger Moore is actually a pretty cool dude in that regard because he could laugh at himself at the persona that he wasn't taking it too seriously. But the Bond people do. James Bond seems to be the ultimate white male fantasy. I would say white male colonialist fantasy in some respect.
Specific flavor, yeah.
From Britain. It is the epitome of being able to get out of any jam, to have all of these toys, to have all these chicks and not be bound to them. It is the epitome of that fantasy, and there was a time when that seemed to be acceptable in earnest. And I'd never seen the Timothy Dalton movies, but my understanding is they were probably trying to go for what they did with Daniel Craig, and it just didn't click with audiences at that time. Because I like the idea of Timothy Dalton being a Bond, just in theory, but I never watched him because, again, I haven't had much of an interest.
What's his other work that you know him from?
Mainly Flash Gordon. I like him in Flash Gordon. We talked about it when we were making that reference, the putting of the hand.
That's right.
I like him in Flash Gordon because he was an antagonist at first who then aligns with Flash and then he becomes a good guy. And I like Timothy Dalton way later in Hot Fuzz, playing a bad guy. It's kind of a riff on some of his villainous roles. As far as Bond, if the movie's entertaining, I had no problem with watching Bond movies. I almost was going to go back and watch some Sean Connery ones because I really do like the Daniel Craig movies. All of them I wasn't that into except for the first one, and there's a reason for that. Martin Campbell is an incredible director. He directed Casino Royale. He also directed the first Pierce Brosnan one, which was that Goldeneye? Or
Goldeneye, yeah.
From what I understand from even Bond heads, they all kind of feel the same way. Martin Campbell, I'm surprised they don't work with him more to try and make more Bond movies because he just has a real knack for that type of action. There's actually a show that I do enjoy very much, which definitely owes a lot to kind of the Bond mythology. Slow Horses. It's a show on Apple Plus, and it's basically James Bond meets The Big Lebowski because Gary Oldman is playing a disheveled spy spy. He's in charge of the ragtag Bad News Bears spies of MI6 or MI5, whatever. They're the discarded people that they want to fire, but they can't. And so they put them in, they call it Slow House, and that's why they're called the Slow Horses. They're a bunch of fuck-ups, but they still get to the truth of whatever's going on. But you wouldn't have that if you didn't really have this. Now, I do enjoy Spy Fair to some extent. I've never read any of the books. I went back and watched Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I never watched that before. I kind of enjoy the Bourne movies, which again owes something to the James Bond franchise. And I think they were competing with that as well as Christopher Nolan's Batman. Nolan's Batman Begins was a big hit. Casino Royale and their approach to like making a Bond that was like more action oriented. You know, there'd be some mystery and he could solve the ship. And it's like, let's get to the next action sequence. And they always had like action sequences in these, but I think they were a little bit more cheesy back in the day. They had a little bit more, like I said, that Lex Luthor. Their schemes were similar. And the other weird thing that's connected is they used the Dunsmuir house in View to a Kill when they were in San Francisco. The Dunsmuir house is in Oakland. That's where the house where my parents got married. So kind of cool, I guess. Again, what's more astounding me about the Bond series is the fact that Spoolie D is so enamored with it. It's not so much like, oh, the white male fantasy as much as there's always been like kind of a hint of Ferris Bueller to your way of being in like work and school. Spoolie, and Ferris Bueller is kind of like a high school James Bond when you think about it. Like the way he would get out of jams and always have it figured out. He had his little mechanism back home for making his parents think that he was still at home sick. He's high school Bond. So I think you have like an affinity for people that get in jams and get out of it and dealing with adversaries. Because the way you used to deal with like principals and shit, they were like your villains. They were just like, oh, we've got you in here now, Mr. Spoolie D. Well, we're going to put you in detention. And you're like, yeah, go ahead, put me in detention. I sell all my fucking candy in the detention. You got schemes upon schemes to deal with your villains.
I'll take that as a compliment. Full disclosure, like, I watched all of them in a row. It was when I lived in San Francisco, so it was sometime between '01 and 2008. And then once I had kind of committed to watching all of them in a row over one summer, then every time a new one came out, I'd watch it, because now I was completely invested in the franchise. Same thing with Columbo. I didn't start watching that until about that same era.
I think you kind of developed for Bond what I got into with spaghetti westerns. I was starting to jam with Dan not long after I first saw The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for the first time. And I don't know if you remember, Dan, but I was just obsessed with watching Sergio Leone movies. Right at that time, I was just like, holy shit, it's like a moving painting and shit. Got way into Lee Van Cleef and all that.
I was listening to an interview with James Wood, and he said Sergio Leone is the most brilliant director he's ever worked with.
Oh, yeah, he worked on Once Upon a Time in America. I forgot.
Yep.
Well, that's saying something, because I know James Woods has said the N-word. All right. So, we covered Bond.
So, Dan, you'd mentioned Monk. Is that good?
I like it. So I started watching it because, are you familiar with the station WFMU out in New Jersey? It's kind of like one of the biggest community college like stations. They're kind of influential as far as like college radio goes. I used to listen to this show on there called The Best Show with Tom Sharpling, who's like a comedian.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, he started doing like a punk fanzine and then kind of got into comedy with John Worster, who's the drummer from Superchunk. And they have this comedy duo, and it's part of the show, The Best Show on WFMU. So I found out that Tom Sharpling wrote for Monk.
Oh, no.
And I was like a huge Sharpling fan. So I was like, oh, I got to check out this show. And then another guy involved with WFMU, Andy Breckman, who does a show with like the main guy who runs the whole station. They have like kind of a comedy talk show. Andy Breckman created Monk. And so I was like, well, okay, I was really obsessed with WFMU. So I was like, I got to check out this show. And then, yeah, I just fell in love with it, man. It's set in San Francisco, although I would say maybe like 60% is like actually filmed there on location. But he's like a total like OCD detective who lost his wife in like an unsolved murder. So he's like alone and struggling with like crazy OCD, but he's just like this genius of, you know, picking up things at crime scenes that nobody sees. So he's kind of like the OCD Columbo.
Who's the actor? It's
Tony Shalhoub.
He's great.
I always liked him in Wings.
And you know what's crazy, man? So I read Tom Sharpling's book, and he's talking about how he got involved with Andy Breckman initially. And I think it had something to do with like an early internet forum. And Breckman was trying to locate a copy of the episode of Different Strokes with Gordon Jump and the bike shop. the
Oh,
child
God.
molesting
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
And I guess Sharpling was like, I have it. And so they like figured out some kind of trade, and that was kind of his in to like, you know, writing for.
Why did he want it? He wanted to watch Dudley drink wine?
Dude, the guy from WKRP plays the bike shop.
Gordon Joe.
Yeah.
What was his character on WKRP?
He's
He was
the
the
owner
manager.
of the station.
Yeah, he was the guy who ran the station.
Oh,
Mr.
shit.
Carlton.
Yeah,
That's
he was a
right.
good actor, but I'm like, that was a bold character move.
I just remember him giving them wine and then gumballs to cover the fucking wine smell.
It was a helpful episode.
Or
man.
Deadly, man.
I know.
They were
Dudley always got the short end of the stick.
Man, it was fucking Epstein Bike Shop. So let's wrap this up with our last topic, which is our song. And once again, Spoolie D, boy, he had this one in the chamber, dude. And this
I love this song.
I'm sure you do. I don't. This song,
Really?
this song was fucking hard, dude. I have never heard a song until Spoolie D made me listen to this, and it is Risque, featuring Aviance and Real, produced by
DJ Quest.
DJ Quest. That is not the DJ Quest that Dan Lactose is familiar with. Get that right out of the way. But this is Risque's song called Smell Yo Dick. Spoolie D, why don't you take charge again?
So I was driving home from San Francisco and I lived in Daly City and I was listening to college radio. I can't remember which station, but it came on. And I was just like, oh, no way. And I was listening to the lyrics and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. And then I went inside and then I looked it up. I listened to it like 5 times. I know you guys are like music connoisseurs, but it's catchy as fuck. First of all, it's got a good like sample line. It's cheesy, right? It's ridiculous. But the brilliant part about it is it's fucking cheater checkmate. That move, let me smell your dick. Like, what the fuck are you going to do with that? Like, you are done. Because either your dick smells like Strange, or it smells freshly washed at fucking 4 a.m. Like, you're fucked. You are like check and mate. And so it's not just like the musicality of the song. It's also just the absolute fucking art of the Sun Tzu-ishness of the whole fucking thing. It's like, let me smell your dick. Like, what are you going to do with that? You're not going to do shit because you're fucked, right? And I thought about it a little bit. I think the only antidote to getting your dick smelled, like at 4 a.m, is if you proactively plan on it and you start deodorizing your dick, like preemptively, prophylactically, if you will. And you just become that guy, you're deodorizing your dick, you're putting Old Spice on it, you're putting CK1, whatever, and then you can maybe like, hit it, wash it, then reapply, because otherwise, like, the only other method is you're gonna have to take a shower and then you have to like run around the block like 6 times and hope that it smells normal. It's not just a catchy tune, it's a fucking philosophy, it's a way of life, and it's a fucking brilliant game theory. And what makes it a great song versus just a good song is the male rebuttal, where he just comes back hard. He's like, listen, bitch, you're not smelling my dick. And I guess, like, he's clearly guilty, right? But I do appreciate that, and I think the song gives it to you the way Papa John likes it, fair and balanced. So I do appreciate the male perspective in a very feminist song, and I just like, 5 stars, 2 thumbs up. Great fucking tune. Back to you, Dave.
Dear God, this fucking... I can't believe you made us listen to this. Well, being our resident leading in knowledge of hip-hop, let's go with Dan Lactose. Dan, apologies first off. Let me get the sorry doggy back here. Sorry for making you have to endure this on any level, but let's hear your thoughts on Smell Yo Dick.
I was familiar with it already. So when you mentioned, I was like, okay, but now, I got to listen to this, actually listen to it really critically, put some work in. But something that was really funny, I hadn't mentioned to my wife, I told her, hey, I'm doing the show, with the guys on Sunday morning, but I hadn't told her the topics, right? And I work in a lab at work, so I wear a lab coat during the day. And the lab coats are all put in a specific area with our names, when we go in and out of the lab. And there's a ton of them. So I came home maybe Wednesday, and I'm sitting on the couch with my wife and, we're kind of cuddling, and she's like smelling my shirt. She's all, what is that? She's like, where you been? She's smelling me. She's like, I smell perfume on you. And she literally said, let me smell your dick. It turns out that I had a lab coat next to a woman's, I guess, who was heavy perfume, because the next day when I went to work and I put my lab coat on, I was like, oh my God. I actually had to throw that one in the laundry because I couldn't take the smell. But I just thought that was hilarious that she went there, man.
Life imitated art.
Right?
Yeah.
Genius.
But to the song and, what Spoolie was saying, the minute I started listening to it, I thought about the Funeral Shock tour. And how one of our members of our band made an error a critical error early into the tour. And his solution was, I need Purell for my dick.
Wow.
And he was freaking out, asking all of us for Purell because I think he had already gone through his supply at that point. And we were all kind of like, I don't have any Purell, bro.
I mean, it wasn't that she was going to smell it on the tour. She's back home, but I think he was trying to cure himself of any STD potential.
Totally.
As if fucking sanitizer was going to really get to it. And it's like, oh, that shit's in there, man. Sorry. Like,
I mean, yeah, didn't you learn that in sex ed, you know?
if you got any fucking gonos in there, man, them bugs are already swimming.
The song itself, you know, it kind of reminds me of that It's So Cold in the D song, you know.
I don't think we know.
Oh, you guys don't know that one? Oh,
so.
man. It's kind of one of those songs that's like so bad it's good, and it's perfect for like viral internet culture. You know what I mean? Like if it came out as a 12-inch back in the early 90s, nobody would even care about it. You know, people are like, ugh. But it's perfect for our trolling viral culture nowadays, you know.
If I heard it, I ignored it, but I really don't think I've ever heard the song.
Your Twitter's not black enough, Dave.
It isn't. I'm not gonna, you know, and for me, that's yeah, I got that little bit of racism. I'm like, black Twitter, put it over there. Nathan Nation.
This song is some real bullshit. Like, what pisses me off about it is that like it's one of those songs where I'm like, fuck this song, but like it's stuck in my head like 2 days later, where I'm like, why am I singing this to myself in my head, kind of thing. It's got 3 parts basically, right? It's got the woman who's like rapping, then the woman who's like actually rapping, giving you sort of like narrative, and then like the oh hell no girl you're tripping rebuttal part at the end. And the only thing that like I thought like when I initially listened to this was like the woman who's doing sort of the singing throughout the song, it struck me that she seems like she has some kind of dick smelling fetish, like the way she's singing it and kind of like pleading in her tone. Like I'm like, this girl wants to smell dick. Like that was my one main takeaway from this. The woman who did the rap like had the story about what was going on and sounded more angry, but I didn't get that vibe from the lady that was singing. I don't know. I didn't hate it. It was fun to listen to for sure. I'm glad we did this song.
So you like checkmated my checkmate. The whole fucking like cheating thing was a ruse so she could satisfy her fucking fetish of smelling dick.
Yeah, not kink shaming or nothing,
dude.
But yeah.
Oh, we are. No, we keep
If
come clean.
If my camera worked, you'd actually see my head exploding right now. Fucking blew my mind, Nathan Nation.
But he's right. This song does smell like dick. Like, when the song comes up and it's so bootsy. I've never seen a song deliberately be half-assed. The subject matter is not far off from something by early Destiny's Child or even TLC. I mean, TLC would probably try to soften it up some because it's probably like a little harder language. But she can't sing. She struggles with the fucking hook. Like part of the charm of the hook is she does that weird like fucking whining sound. She almost doesn't hit the note.
I'll meet you halfway on that one, Dave. She can't say the word cool.
It's bad. She had no business singing this song. I mean, I'm sure this was kind of a hit for what it was in some local fair or whatever. And yeah, it's a funny song. But you could have fucking put in some production value on this and maybe elevated it just a bit. But you have this ham and egger fucking singer. And there's a reason why you side with the guy, because the terribleness of the song made his verse seem like fucking Tupac or some shit. There's an early shot of him, too, in the video where he looks exactly like Biggie. Like, he's sitting there with the sunglasses. It's a brief shot when he's sitting there.
I thought he had kind of like a Suge Knight sort of look to him.
He did later. You know what's funny is I was like, is this like from the Tide detergent collection of FUBU or some shit? Like the colors? His rebuttal comes off like so much more crisp in comparison to the rest of the song. And his arguments are logic. Like, what the fuck, bitch? Like, what the fuck you think I'm...
His argument wasn't logic. It was basically, I'm not doing shit. Take my word for it. Don't smell my dick. I'm not letting you smell my dick.
That's
like,
logical.
That's
Didn't
logic.
he say you're going to get swole, like implying he was going to hit her?
I think he was saying, like, she's got her back up.
I think he's saying, bitch, you're crazy. Because he's not saying that he didn't, and he's not saying that he did. He's saying this relationship is not on solid ground if you think smelling my dick is going to solve the issue.
I can't think of a single issue it doesn't solve, David.
It's not healthy. I mean, it's like really, I'm not going to sit there and be like, yeah, let me smell your pussy real quick because I got some reason to believe that somebody else has been there. I mean, smelling genitals in general, I think it speaks more to your point there, Nate, because you wrote a whole song about it. I love what he said. I might break bread with a stripper. It's just breaking bread.
So what I'm getting is it's catchy because it's stuck in our heads. It's thought-provoking, clearly. I'll just say that's a unanimous A+ across the board.
This sounds like a song that should have been in like Fear of a Black Hat. It feels like a parody song.
It's not parody because this is real life. Like, it doesn't get much realer than
I got
smelling
that,
someone's
but
dick.
even your tone of voice speaks to satire. You sit here and say, this is fucking quality. This song sucks.
This song sucks.
We all said it's like, just because an earworm's an earworm doesn't mean it doesn't suck, all right? Commercials can get stuck in your head.
The juicy fruit, get your skis signed up, grab a stick of juicy fruit. I'll take the guitar out and jam that every once in a while.
Maybe Smell Your Dick could have been Smell Your Fruit.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, we're worse off for having had to hear this song. But
You're welcome.
Yeah, there's no thank you. Like, what the fuck, man? You put that out there? Thank you. And just bitch can't sing.
I didn't do any research. When did this song come out?
I think it was 2010.
Yeah, it's kind of eternal, you know what I mean? Because like,
no, it's not.
people have been
Nobody
cheating on their
talks about it
spouses.
today, dude.
It's evergreen. Yeah.
Exactly.
It is not evergreen. It smells like rotten dick. All right.
If you broke this out in like 76 BC, it would still be relevant.
Yeah, this is some ghetto shit, man. Sorry. It really is ghetto. All right, well, that's our show. I want to thank Dan Lactose, Spoolie D, Nathan Nation. Thank you. I've been me and Dave. I think we covered a lot here. We'll see you next time. Hopefully, like Smell Your Dick, we will be evergreen as well with our episode. Thank you.